This week's episode is sponsored by Mack Weldon, purveyors of fine, comfortable clothing that's just a mouse click away. When the temperature outside starts getting hotter than your Core in the House fanfiction, what do? Do you accept your fate that you're gonna be a melted candle of a man in the near future? Or do you seek refuge from the sun's deadly rays in the great indoors we can watch a heaping helping of summer anime? I really hope you chose option 2, otherwise there's really no point in today's Dan Cave for you, because on today's episode we're gonna break down the best anime coming your way this summer. Katsugeki Token Ranbu. The year is 1863 and the samurai era is coming to an end as pro-shogunate and anti-shogunate forces prepare to square off against one another. But then, out of nowhere, an army of time-traveling historical revisionists from the future comes back in time to change the course of history. Now the only thing standing in their way is a pair of magical swords that get turned into legendary warriors who have to stand and fight against these time-traveling tool bags. Now, as someone who studied Japanese history in college, I am always down for a good period piece. And as someone who loves a bonkers-ass alt history story even more, Katsugeki Token Ranbu could not be more up my alley unless it was also somehow a pizza. Ballroom A Yolk. When middle schooler Totaro Fujita is getting his ass kicked by a bunch of bullies, a mysterious stranger intervenes and saves him. And who is this motorcycle riding badass? Why, it's a ballroom dance teacher, baby! Long story short, this kid winds up getting into the hyper-competitive world of ballroom dancing in an effort to step-ball change his image. That's a dance term. Honestly, if it sounds silly to you, just look at how damn addictive shows like Free, Yuri on Ice, and Hajime no Ippo are, then maybe just shut the hell up and let yourself experience the power and mystery of the dance. Outta Reset. If anime is to be believed, basically every small town ever is teeming with superpowered teens who find themselves with the fate of the world resting in their deeply incapable hands. But that's especially true for high schoolers Asai Kei and Haruki Misora. In their small town of Sakurada, nearly half the population has superpowers. The other half, I don't know, they just suck? Anyway, Misora has the power to reset the world back 3 days in time, while Kei, on the other hand, can remember the past, including what happened in that hypothetical 3-day span. Think of it kind of like a weirdo version of Heroes meets Edge of Tomorrow. Then keep your fingers crossed that some lovable goof of a marketing exec won't suddenly rename it when it comes to Blu-ray. Live, Die, Repeat? What is that? Sentinel Naomi. Finally, you guys, it looks like the president of anime has been getting my concerned letters because we're getting a damn TV show about the trials and travails of being a centaur in high school. Sentinel Naomi, or Centaur Worries, follows a centaur girl named Himeno, who goes to a high school where every student has some sort of supernatural body part. And honestly, this comes as a huge relief to me because my biggest centaur worry would be keeping Harry Potter safe from Lord Voldemort, or maybe just like a tiny man sitting on my back and trying to race me for sport. Homie, don't play that! Knights and Magic. This show is exactly like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, except instead of taking a cab to live with his auntie and uncle in Bel-Air, it's about a Japanese mecha otaku who dies in a car crash and is reborn in a different world where he regains his memories and interests from his past life. And then he does what any one of us would do in that situation. He becomes a silhouette night pilot and drives a gigantic mechanized robot to kick ass, take names, and basically avoid upsetting his Uncle Phil. Wait, that last part's not true. The rest of it is true though. Sorry, I guess it's really not. Huh, what was I thinking? It doesn't even take place in Philadelphia? Wow. Nanamaru Sanbatsu. My favorite part of watching Jeopardy is fast forwarding to right after Alex Trebek interviews the contestants and taking what he says out of context. For example, and that's why I hate ballpoint pens.
Strobe light. Okay, Melissa?
My second favorite part is intellectually dunking on the contestants by answering the questions right before they do, and Nanamaru Sanbatsu, or 703X, Fastest Finger First, what a title, is as close as I'll ever come to that in anime form. The show is all about a freshman high school student who joins a competitive quiz bowl team and gets caught up in the high-stakes world of being competitively smart. Now, if you ask me, they should have called it The Fast and the Curious, but they didn't, so that's why it's titled like a bad sci-fi porno. Fastest Finger First. You're not fooling anyone. Yokai Apato no Yuga no Nichijo, aka Refined Daily Life at the Monster Apartment. It's a long one. Folks, we've all had weird living situations before. Back in college, for example, I was saddled with a 30-year-old Russian grad student named Boris, who we found burning a bunch of papers on our barbecue grill, told us he was, burning the evidence. And Yokai Apato, though, Inabayushi, has even weirder roommates than Boris. I didn't think that was possible. This orphaned high schooler winds up living in a room in a nice old building that just so happens to be co-ed, nice, and home to all manner of monsters, less nice, like ghosts, vengeful spirits, and other supernatural creatures. And the bee in this apartment 23 is a cute girl named Akine, who just so happens to be an exorcist, so you know, Typical high school experience, typical living situation, real slice of life stuff, you guys. Ha ha ha. Ah, call your landlord. Vatican Kiseki Chosakan. What is a miracle anyway? Magnets? There has to be someone who can tell us if something's a miracle or just a thing, and that's exactly what Vatican Kiseki Chosakan is all about. It's all about an organization of miracle investigators who travel around the world to determine whether or not alleged miracles are real or hoaxes. The unit, comprised of a cryptanalysis expert and a brilliant scientist, must work together to uncover the sinister truth behind these miracles and the conspiracies hidden beneath the surface. So yeah, I guess it's basically anime angels and demons, but I'm fine with that. I hope you are too, Dan Brown-chan. Princess Principal. Is there a gunslinger girl-shaped hole in your heart? If so, you need to see a cardiologist stat. You might be dying, and after that, see Princess Principal. This show takes place in a version of 19th century London where a giant wall separates the eastern and western parts of the Kingdom of Albion. And it also follows a group of 5 high school girls who moonlight as spies, getting up to all manner of intrigue and skullduggery. Considering it's 19th century London though, being a super spy actually sounds way safer than literally anything else these kids would be doing for work back then. Chimbley sweeps, with their spindly little fingers working looms. I don't know, man. Hip hip hooray for child labor. You suck, 19th century England. And that, my friends, is some of the best new anime you need to watch this summer. But tell me, what's your most anticipated show? What would you add to this list? Let me know in the comments below and give me a tsundere thumbs up while you're there. And be sure to like and subscribe or else you might miss next week's show about the story of a group of people who must escape a NASCAR race turned into a zombie apocalypse in Talladega Night of the Living Dead. Until next time, keep on digging. And special thanks to this week's sponsor, Mack Weldon. It sounds like the alter ego of a superhero who's like a truck driver that gets into a welding accident but then somehow winds up with the powers of both. I mean, can't you just picture that Netflix series? And speaking of Netflix series, don't you want to be comfortable while you're binge watching? Well, thankfully, the real Mack Weldon makes incredibly comfortable shirts, hoodies, underwear, workout gear, and other premium clothing items. They even have a line of silver underwear and shirts which are naturally antimicrobial and will eliminate odor. It's not a problem for me since I can't smell, but if you're gonna be binge watching for hours on end, you're gonna want clothes that can keep up with you and keep you swaddled in comfort. Besides, being naked is vastly overrated. Your dangly bits will be exposed to all manner of mortal peril, so keep yourself covered in comfortable premium clothes by going to MackWeldon.com and using the promo code CAVE, as in the Dan Cave, to get 20% off your order. Let's open up the old mailbag, shall we? At Alimatu asks, if one leaves the Dan Cave and sees the daylight for what it truly is, can they ever really return to said Dan Cave? Well, that's a great question, Dr. Matu. The answer, of course, is yes, because unlike Plato's boring-ass cave, allegory holds no sway over those who enter my domain. We've got shadow puppets for days, and quite honestly, no real desire to apply that much sunscreen anyway. The real world is dangerous. Anyway, long story short, yes, you can come back to said Dan Cave, but tell me, do you think Plato's allegory of the cave applies to my cave? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.